we should start now. Yeah. Before I proceed, so this is right now. So last week we were able to discuss the testing, and still we were able to discuss the types of what softwares that we can use to diagnose what problems in the computer. So maybe we can have a recap of what we covered last time before I proceed. I think we're able to discuss the methods of testing, whereby we discussed all three methods of testing. We're able to discuss what we call the black box testing, the white box testing, and we have what the gray box testing. And I believe we say that in the black box testing, the tester do not have any knowledge of the internal working, do not have any knowledge of the internal working of the system. Still, we're able to discuss what we call the white box testing, whereby we said the person who is testing the system or the computer has full knowledge of the internal working of the system. Still, he has knowledge of the what of the code. Then still, we're able to discuss what we call the gray box testing, whereby we said for the gray box testing, the tester has limited knowledge of the internal working of the system. Then still, we're able to discuss the types of testing. And we said for the testing now, you can be categorized based on what? Either functional and what? And functional testing. And then under the functional testing, we're able to discuss what we call the system testing, whereby we said for the system testing now, it entails testing the data system as a whole. Still, we're able to discuss what we call the unit testing, whereby we said for this one, it is used whereby you want to test the system as a whole as a single module, or you want to test the system as a whole as a single unit. For example, you said maybe you're coming up with a system. You have the admin module and you have a custom module. So you can test the admin module first to see whether we have any errors. Then you test the customer module separately. This is what you call the unit testing together. Still, we have to discuss what you call the integration testing. And we said for this one, for the integration testing, once you combine, for example, the admin module, the customer module, some errors might be caused during what that integration. So you have to conduct what that testing. Still, we discussed what we call the regression testing, and we said for the regression testing, for example, maybe I've rectified a certain error. So once we rectify now, it can cause what an error. The previous rectified has caused what a new error. So this was some of the testing we discussed about what the functional testing. Still, we were able to discuss the other types of testing and what and functional testing, where we say, for example, we can have what we call the acceptance testing, which is carried out by what by the quality assurance team to ensure that the system has met what maybe this requirement or it has met what the set what standard. Still, we can allocate the system out of what out of maybe or you can test the behavior of a system, how it can work at different what conditions. Let me just repeat. I was saying the other problem in my network. I was saying there is what we call the stress testing, whereby you can check now the behavior of a system, how it can work under what the different conditions. Still, we're able to discuss what we call the root testing. And what did we discuss about the root testing, Ibrahim? We discussed the root testing. What did we say about the load? Because I gave an example. Ibrahim, what did we say about the root testing, the load testing? Beatrice, how did we say about it last time? The root testing. We said for this one now, there is a way, for example, you can allocate a lot of memory or you can add a lot of information to the server that in that information the server cannot do what? Cannot add together. So you want to see how the system can behave at what? At that what circumstance. So this morning, I want to discuss what we call now some computer diagnostic equipment together. And the first one is what we call the temperature monitor. Together, the temperature monitor. I believe you have come across this one. And for this one now, this is a diagnostic equipment that is used to provide information on the computer's inner temperature together. So for example, maybe the motherboard temperature or how or that temperature within what the computer. For example, in case we are having a lot of high pressure, or not high pressure, high temperature. In case you're having a high temperature, high temperature in the computer, sometimes you may realize that your computer is overheating. Is what? It's overheating. And the reason the computer might be overheating, for example, maybe you have a lot of dust which has clogged in the what? In the CPU, in the fans together. You realize the heat sink and the thermal paste are not working. Because what happens now, we have the heat sink. The purpose of the heat sink now, the heat that is being generated by the computer, still you can use what called the thermal paste. The thermal paste in the computer. For example, these people play who of FIFA. What happens now, since the computer is able to produce a lot of heat, so the thermal now can be used to do what? To provide a cooling effect to the computer. Still, you can use what called a fan. But nowadays, you have realized most of the computers nowadays they don't use a fan. Have you realized that, Ibrahim and Beatrice? Most of the computers nowadays they do not have the fan. Have you realized, Ibrahim and Beatrice? Yeah, most of the computers nowadays, like mine, it is not using a fan. Right together, it's using what the heat sink. Yeah, yeah, they're not using what the fan. So in case now there's a lot of dust which has clogged the fan now, they might cause what a lot of heat. Remember, in the computer motherboard, we have the sensors. We have what the sensors now. These sensors now, in case the computer together, sometimes you may realize your computer has shut down abruptly. Your computer has done what? Has shut down abruptly because we have what the sensors which are installed in the what in the computer motherboard. Yeah. So that is the first what? That is the first equipment. A temperature monitor. Yeah, very self-explanatory together. Then still we can have other equipment. For example, we can have what we call the virus scanner. The virus what scan and you know what is a virus. Let me ask you, Beatrice, what is a virus? What is a virus? What is Beatrice? What is a computer virus? Okay, but what is a computer to you? Beatrice, Yeah, that is good from Beatrice. That is a type of program that when executed, it interrupts all the computer functions. So we can say that a computer virus now, this is a malicious what? This is a malicious program that once it gets to the computer, it is able, once it is able to go to the computer, it is able to alter the normal function of the computer. That is what we call a virus. And you have types of viruses together. For example, you can have the macro virus. You can have what? The macro virus. So these macro viruses now, they're able to affect the application for programs. For example, you can have Microsoft Word, you can have Microsoft Excel. Then you can have what you call, there is what you call the boot viruses together. You have the boot viruses. For these boot viruses now, these are the viruses that are able to affect what? The boot sectors of the hard disk. In case now the boot sectors have been
Hello, Matthews. Matthews.
Oh, I'm sorry, my computer switched off. Together. Okay, yeah, my computer had switched it. You can jizima together, but I'm back. I'm sorry for that. You can jizima, but now I'm back. Together. Let me just clarify everything. I think now we are discussing actually diagnostic. Now maybe now we can diagnose the problem. Yeah, but I believe that it had a problem with the power. I had the blue screen, but now I'm back. So I was discussing the viruses. I together I was able to discuss whatever the virus is. I hope we were discussing something before I resume that together. So we were discussing concerning whatever the virus is now. Right together. So now we have the virus scanner. We have seen now for this one is a piece of software that is able to prevent detect what whatever the virus is. And you have seen now we have discussed what the Trojan horse. And you have to be very, very careful. There's a difference between a virus and a what? And a worm. There's a difference between a virus and a worm. A virus have to rely on other programs for its existence. That is what is a virus. But now, for the worm, a worm can own. It do not have to rely on other programs together. And worms are even bad than what? Than the viruses together. So we can have what the virus scanner. Then there is what you call the registry scanner. This still is another tool that can be used to what? Diagnose problems the computer. So for this one now, the registry cleaner now it is able to remove unwanted or redundant data from the computer's what? Register together. But sometimes, for example, maybe you had uninstalled a program. Maybe for example, maybe you're using a certain program, then you sometimes not all the files are able to be removed from the computer during that uninstallation. So sometimes now you have to access what the registry now. So that now you can remove what these programs manual, and you have to be very, very careful when you access what the registry. You have to do what very, very careful. Do you know the procedure of accessing the registry, Matthew? Can you access one? Can you demonstrate one? Can I demonstrate the procedure of accessing what the registry of the computer? Matthew, do you have who knows how to access the registry? John, can you do that? Or can I demonstrate? Can I demonstrate? Yeah, so for example, in case you want to access the registry of the computer, let me just share the entire screen. In case you want to access the registry now, let me just show you. You want to access the registry. So what you have to do now, you have to go to the start button. Let me just share the screen. I want to show you how to access the registry. So you go to the start button, then you just type run, just type what? You just type run. Then here we have what? You just type this rigidity, the rigidity together. You want to access what? The registry. Then you press what? You press OK. Then you allow what? You click yes. Then this is the registry here. Can you see it? Are you able to see the registry here? This is the files which are within the registry. Can you see them? Just confirm whether you can see the files. Beatrice, can you see the files in the registry? For example, you have these programs which I have installed. For example, we have the Foxit Reader, we can have the ESET and various here. So these are the programs here. For example, in case now that program you had installed, and some of the files still remain. For example, like the Kaspersky here, you can just click it, right click, you click what? You click delete. But you have to be very, very careful with the registry. In case you make a mistake with the registry now, you have to format your computer. You have to be very, very careful. That is how you access the registry. I'm able to see the programs here. You have to be very, very careful. Still, I can access the users here. Together. Let me see. You can access the control panel is here. You can access what? Several things. The what with the registry. But I've said you have to be very, very careful in accessing what the registry. Yeah. Then you can proceed. Yeah, apart from that tool, there is what we call the spyware detector. The spyware detector goes hard in what with an antivirus, with an what an antivirus. Together. For this now, these are the tools that are available to analyze what the computer problems. For example, in case we have a virus that is within your computer, these spyware programs now they can detect the malware that is within your computer. What they do, they detect the malware, they provide some notifications. Sometimes you may realize have a notification in your computer, in the notification tab here, that your computer is infected by malware. Together, there's some notification. So it is the work of that malware detector to detect these malicious programs and take actions against them. Sometimes these malware detectors now they can clean them together. Sometimes they request you for authorization to delete these malware together, because sometimes now the malware now they might have affected a certain program together. These are called what the spyware detectors together. Then we have another tool. We have what? We have another tool. There is what we call the USB port. The USB what? Port tester. Remember in the computer, we have various types of USB together. We can have one which is having a speed of 2.0, we can have 3.0 together. These are the USB port together. So we must have this device together. We must have what? This device. So the work of the USB port tester, it is determined whether that port is working properly. That port is working. You can install a flash drive, but when there is piece of missing, still we can have sufficient power to that port, that port. So you have used this of not a software. This tool here to improve together voltage. Yeah. Have you understood? Have you understood on the USB port tester, which is an Ibrahim? Understood? Even understood the USB port tester. Yeah, that is okay. Then we can have another tool that we call the power supply tester. Together we have what we call the power supply tester. Remember, a computer has to use power. There is no way a computer can operate without power. So we must be having the the part together. For example, let me ask you, what is the input voltage of a computer? What is the input voltage? Yeah. What is the input voltage of a computer? Let me ask you. What is the input voltage of a computer? Yeah, who knows the input voltage of a computer? Yeah, that is correct. For a laptop, for a laptop, it's supposed to be around what? 5 volts, and you have some around what 60 volts. That is correct from what from Ibrahim. So, which device can you use which device can you use now to test what? The power in the computer. There is what you call a multimeter together. You can use the multimeter now to determine the power supply in what in the computer. Because in case now we exit, in case no, there is more power in the computer, sometimes the components they can be damaged together. The PSU might be unable, there is what called the PSU, the power supply unit. It might be unable to manage what? The power together. And now it can result to what? To damages. For example, it can damage the BIOS chip, the display chip, and other what? Motherboard components together. Yeah. And this is what we call the power supply tester. Then another tool is what we call the CPU meter, the central processing unit meter. And for this one now, it is able to report the performance and the usage of the what of the CPU together. For example, in case you just go to the, let me just show you. Let me illustrate the CPU meter. Let me illustrate because now in the CPU meter now we can determine the amount of memory that is used by what by this program together, the amount of space used by what by that program. So how do you? Let me just illustrate now the CPU meter. Let me just illustrate the CPU meter. Let me illustrate. Let me illustrate the CPU information. You can access this information at the task manager. Let me illustrate it. Let me just share the task screen. Now, I hope you're able to see this. Can you see this information here? Are you able to see this information? Are you able to see this information under the task manager? Can you see it? Just confirm. Are you able to see that information? Can you see now? You can observe now the performance of the what? The performance of the CPU together. That is here. You can observe now the amount of memory that is being used. Together. Still, at that now, we can observe the disk speed together. As you can see now, we have the graphical representation here. Still able to realize now I'm using what? Wi-Fi together, not Ethernet together. This information together. So you can have what? The CPU meter together. Yeah, the CPU meter is here. I'll be able to see that information. Yeah. So you can see the processes which are running together. Be able to see the thread. Still, we can see what? The speed. Still, be able to see here. Look at this point here. Look at the virtualization. This what is disabled. Virtualization is what is disabled. This information can be displayed by using what? A CPU, meter. Still, we can see the services which are what? Which are running together. We can see the services which are running. Still, we can see the services which are stopped. Yeah. That is what we call a CPU. Yeah, that is what we call a CPU meter. It's used to report the performance and the usage of the whole of the CPU. Yeah. Then there is what we call a hard disk tester. There is what we call the hard disk tester. And because now you have to test the hard disk, the healthy status of your hard disk. For example, sometimes you may realize you have started your computer, but there's a message: no bootable what? No bootable device. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen that? John Bogwa, have you ever seen, for example, maybe you have restarted your machine and you have this message, no bootable device, or hard disk failure. And mostly for the HP laptops, they request you to conduct what? Maybe hard disk test. So there's a device we call the hard disk test. For this one now, it can be used to detect the bad sectors in the hard disk. The bad sectors in the hard disk. For example, most of you don't switch off your laptops. You frap. I believe most of you, instead of following the right procedure, you just frap your laptop. The moment you frap your laptop now, when the disk or when the power is still on, you create the bad sectors in the hard disk, and you lower the healthy status of your hard disk. And you know very, very well what can happen in case the hard disk fail. You may lose what? All the information. Once they fail now, there is no way the operating system can be loaded in the computer. So you have to incur an extra cost now of retrieving the information. So you can have a hard disk tester. There is a software, you can use a software. There's a software called the high range boot. The high range boot. Let me type it for you. You can use that software now to test the hard disk data altogether. Yeah. So these are the various or the types of equipment you can use in a diagnose problems. The computer you have the CPU meter, the hard disk tester, we have the spy detectors altogether. We have the registry cleaners. And we are doing that subsection. Any question on that before I proceed? Any clarification? Any question? Members, can I proceed? Yeah, it is okay. Can I proceed now? Now we go to another age. Still in computer diagnostic. Now we discuss what we call the common computer problems together, and how we can diagnose these problems, or how we can provide solutions to these upcoming problems. For example, you have the first one here. The computer won't start. Let me just hide this one. Let me ask you some questions. Let me just hide it. Computer won't start. What could be the reason? Yeah, I've hidden that information. What could be the reason the computer won't start? Yeah. What is the reason? Matthew, in case now you realize your computer won't start, what could be the reason? Yes, Boko have said you can have errors in the what in the startup drivers. For example, you can have errors in the what in the if you can have BIOS errors altogether. Yeah, that is one still. Yeah, what about the rest? Gakong, what could be the problem Gakong with this the computer could not start? Yes, that is correct. Even from us, you can have what CMOS battery together. In case the CMOS battery has a problem, there is remember the policy settings. There's not the whole in the CMOS battery because there's a problem. Sometimes it can affect. And still can have what bad electrical connection. Yeah, that is correct. So in case now your computer cannot start together, but it has shut down abruptly now, you can have a problem with the what with the power supply together. We have what the power supply together. Still, we can have a problem with the what with the CMOS battery together. For the CMOS battery now, it is made up of lithium. It's made up of what of lithium. Sometimes you have to replace it. Still, we can have a bad electrical connection with the motherboard. Maybe, for example, maybe there is a loose connection together. Still, sometimes it can be maybe the operating system is crashed. It has crashed. In case your OS or your Windows now has crashed now, there is no way you can start the computer. You have to input a new operating system together. Yeah, that's the first one. Then you can have the next one here. You have the next one. Remember, this is a practical class, so you have to be interactive. You can have this one now. The screen is black. What could be the reason? Black. The screen is blank. What could be the reason? Yes. Yeah. What could be the reason? I want to hear from you. In case now you have this problem, the screen is blank. What could be the reason? What could be the reason? A bit reason. What could be the reason in case you realize that the screen is blank? So in case you realize that the screen is blank, we could be having a problem between the system unit and what the monitor. Maybe there's a problem with the VGA. Is that what? There's a problem with the VGA, the VGA. So you have to check whether you have connected the VGA what very well together. In case now you're using a laptop, maybe you can have a problem with the what with the display chip together. Still can be having a problem with the what with the driver. Yeah, so you have to check that. You have to check the cabling, the VGA, whether it is connected very well. Still, you have to check what some drivers. Yeah. Then you can have this problem now, abnormally functioning operating system or software. You realize maybe you have installed Windows 7 or you have installed Windows 8. You realize that operating system, it is behaving abnormally. The reason for that now, you can be having some viruses, you can be having some malwares. Together, in case your computer is infested by malware, you may realize the Windows files are infected by that malware and they may what? They may collapse, together, or they may crash. So you may realize sometimes using the computer, we have the blue screen of death. Together, or sometimes your computer is able to restart in at any time. You can have what? The malware. So what you have to do now, you have to conduct the malware check. Together, you have to use what you call the spy detector. You have to install an antivirus software to scan the viruses in the what? In the computer. Remember, these viruses now will cause an effect to the hard disk. And remember, once the hard disk is affected now, it can do what? All the information can be lost. Then we have this problem now. The Windows won't put. This is very common. You have this problem. The Windows won't put. In the case now, they just cannot put now. The only solution now it is to install a new operating system. Together, you have to what? Install a new operating system. And at that now, maybe you have to ensure you had a backup. In case now you are not back up your information, you have to resort all the information. But so in case the Windows cannot boot up now, you have to install what? A new operating system. I believe everyone here knows how to install an operating system. I believe everyone can install. Anyone who cannot install an operating system. Anyone? Mav, you can install an operating system. Beatrice, can you install one? Okay, but I want to hear from you whether you can install one. Because now you realize you're using the computer. Remember, you are a technician, you are an IT personnel. And maybe in the organization, a computer is not booting, and you have to install now for them. I believe you can install. Yeah, if Ogeba can install, What about Kakongo? Can you install one? Yes, I can see everyone. I can see everyone can do what can install what the operating system. That is good. Then you can have another problem here. The screen is frozen. You can have this. The screen is frozen. In case you realize that your screen is frozen, remember once it is frozen now, there is no you can access the information. And the main cause of the screen is frozen, you can have malware. You can have what? Malware together. Maybe a certain program or a certain file has collapsed or has corrupted. We can have a problem with the registry. Maybe you have some programs which are what? Which are conflicting. Still, we can have insufficient RAM. And this is very, very common. The main problem of the script is frozen is what you call insufficient RAM. You realize you have used all the RAM. In case you have the RAM now, you have to go to the start, you have to go to the task manager and stop some programs. You know what? You stop some programs altogether. Or you use what? The control, alternate, and delete to access what? The task manager. Yeah. Then you have this problem now. Your computer is slow. Now you have this problem. I want to hear from you now. In case you realize your computer is slow, what could be the reason? Yeah, there's a question from John from Bob who had not seen it. Yeah, how can you install two operating system on one laptop? Together, you use Linux. What you can do, Boba, there is what you call dual booting. Together, you can use what dual booting. Together, or you install them on different partitions, or you have what we call dual booting. Maybe I'll illustrate that practically next time. I can show you practically. I'll show you practically. Yeah, so you have this problem now. Your computer is slow. What could be the problem now? What could be the problem in case you realize the computer is slow? In case you realize your computer is slow now, it could be a sign there is some viruses. Together, you have some malware. And still, maybe your hard disk is almost full. For example, you may realize the local disk C is full. In case it is full, that computer, it has to be. So it has to be what? It has to be through. So you have to ensure you have a lot of free space in your local disk. Stay together. Yeah. And so you have said for them, even the malware so together, the viruses can cause what? Can cause the computer to be able to be very slow. Then you can have, in case you realize you have some strange noises in your computer, maybe there's a problem with the hardware together. Maybe, for example, maybe the noise the fan together. There's a problem in with the fan. You may realize the reason the fan is producing a lot of noise. It is what clogged with what with dust together, or there's a certain drive which is fading together. Yeah. For example, the hard disk. Sometimes because you realize the hard disk is producing a lot of noise or rotating, you need to back up the information because it can crash at any time. Together, any stage noise is a what? It is a sign of what? Hardware malfunction. Yeah, yeah. Still, we have Ibrahim. It is correct. Yeah, it's correct because now they're able to use a lot of RAM. Then you can have this one. You realize there's a problem with the slow internet. Through internet. So the slow internet now sometimes it can depend. It can depend with the bandwidth from the ISP. Together, the problem can be the computer or the ISP. Yeah, in case now there's not the ISP, you have to clear the cookies and what other files which are not you using it together. Or the cookies. Then you have this problem now still overheating. Instead of overheating, it can be a problem caused by, for example, in case your fan is clogged with the dust. In case your fan is what clogged with dust. That computer has to do what? Has to overheat. So what you have to do now, you have to clean or you have to remove what or you have to blow out what the dust. Then you have this one dropped. We have this one dropped internet connections. We have dropped what internet connections. Still, we have for this one. It can be a result of the cookie that together, or it can be a result from the ISP together, or from what from the ISP. Maybe the ISP or the company that is providing the service can be having what a problem. Still, a bad network card. Even in a computer, there is what we call a NIC. There is what we call a NIC. The network interface card. In case there's a problem with that NIC now, we must have what? The drop with what? With the internet. Still, drivers problems. In case there's a problem with the drivers, there is no way you can access what the internet. And how do you check whether the drivers are outdated? How do you check? I believe everyone knows how, for example, how to check the drivers in a computer, whether they're outdated or the drivers which are missing. Can anyone who cannot confirm the drivers which are missing in a computer? Because now, in case any driver is missing, it can cause what? A problem. And you have said for you to diagnose the problem now, you must be knowing what the problem together. Yeah. John and Beatrice, how do you determine that some drivers are missing the computer? How do you check the driver properties? So what you can do, you can just go to the device manager. You get the device manager, you go to the computer, you go to properties, you go to the device manager, then you confirm. Let me share the screen. Let me just illustrate that. Let me illustrate that. Let me just show you how you confirm the device drivers. You just go to the PC, just go to the PC, then you go to the system properties here, then you go to the what? Device manager. Yeah, you go to the device manager. Now, for example, in case you want to confirm the network drivers here, just confirm here. And you see now, if in case you confirm here, all drivers have been installed together under the network. All are here. You can see all are here, the devices, drivers are here. In case you want to update now, you can just right click together. In case you want to update, in case it is missing, you can just right click and click what update. For example, in case you have a learner drivers pack and you have two softwares or two drivers which are conflicting, you can just come to this point and you remove them. For example, for the mouse pad, like here, together. In case you realize you have installed two drivers and they are conflicting, just come to this point, right click, you uninstall and install. Remember, in case you disable for the mouse, you have to restart your computer. You have to what? Restart your computer. You can see now all are here. You can confirm this information is working properly. You can just confirm everything is here. That is how you access the device drivers. Any question at that point? Any question? I have now I'm incorporating some practicals. I hope now it is better. I hope it is more clear. Then you can have another problem. In case you realize your search engine looks weird, what happens now? Some of you just click. For example, we have some they're called hardware. They're called for example, using a browser, we have there's a name we call them. We have not the adverts together. There is what you call, there's some extensions that always pop up together and they request you or they prompt you to install them together. The reason you may realize your search engine looks weird now because you have installed this extensions together. You have installed these extensions. So what you have to do now, or we have some malwares can cause what your browser to be weird together. So you can just go to the extensions and just do what and install them together. In case now there's a malware now, in case you have some malwares, you have to run the virus check. Then you can have this one. We have this one. Very common. You realize they're using some Wi-Fi. Because you realize it is disconnected to the Wi-Fi, the major issue is that the signal is weak, or the bandwidth is what very, very slow together. And this one is very, very common. Because you are using some Wi-Fi, it is keep disconnecting, is what very, very weak. We have this question from Beatrice, yeah, concerning Beatrice, concerning this one now, you have to go to the browser together and you just confirm them. You uninstall them, but together you do what? You uninstall them. Yeah. Just go to the browser now, you uninstall them. You will see all the list of the programs, all the extensions you have installed on the browser. You will see them. You can just go to the browser, you just type what? At the search now, just type extensions. You will see them. You can just install them. You do what? You disable. Then you can proceed. Then you have this one. Constant security warnings or browsing. You're using a browser, but you realize you have some warning. For example, when you're using Mozilla Firefox, because you're using Mozilla Firefox now, and your date, for example, today it is the 3rd of July, and the settings of your date is supposed to be, for example, the date is supposed to, maybe instead of having today's date now, is having what last year's date. You must have what security one together, especially for Mozilla. Yeah, so you have to check that your computer's clock is what the correct time and what end date. That is the major issue. Then you have this one. For this one, you have to explain to me. This one is self-explanatory. The printer is not printing. Information. Yes, I'm back. Yeah. signal was a bit poor, but I'm back now. Korea and Korea just discussed together concerning what the poor signal together. I'm having a low internet connection. Yeah, good signal, but I'm back. Let us proceed. Together. Let us proceed. Let us proceed. So I was asking this question: how do you collect, for example, in case you realize that the printer is not working? How can you diagnose the problem? What could be the problem in case you realize the printer is not working? Beatrice and Matthew. What could be the problem? So in case you realize that the printer is not printing, there's a problem, just check the code together. Before you check the code now, check whether the printer is on. Together, you do what? You check the printer is on, it's on. Even if it is on now, check whether it is online. Remember, in case the printer is offline, there is no way you can print. In case it is offline, check the code. Together, check whether you have connected the printer to the what? The system you need. And that is how you diagnose what? The printer problem. Together, yeah. Because we have said if it is offline, there is no way you can do what you can print. Then we have this one. Yeah. Maybe you have installed a new program on your PC, but it is not working. Because you realize you have installed a new program in your it is not working, the problem could be what? Compatibility. Maybe that program is not compatible with what? With the operating system. Maybe, for example, maybe you're using a Windows that maybe you're using an OS of what? That's 2-bit. And you're trying to install a 64-bit Pro program. There is no way that program can be installed. Why? Compatibility. Then you can have this problem. Computer keeps restarting. The computer keeps restarting. The major issue for this one can have hardware. Now your computer has been connected to the internet for almost some updates, not especially updates, because now it has sound. So that means you can do what updates and update what the configuration. Who can be what a problem? You have to run a malware check. Together, know what a malware check. Right. Any question? Another point. Any question? Any question? Maybe you can answer this question. The question here, which is that ask how you can remove them for this browser attackers now. What you can do in case you see the pop-up message to install them, don't install them together, or you go to the settings now and disable them. Just go to the settings of your browser and disable them. Yeah. Then you can go to another subsection now. The code that together. Remember, it has to have the post. In the post now, there's what we call the power on save test together. The computer checks whether all the components the computer are working. If they are working now, the videos can start. In case now some of the components have malfunctioned, you just have what? A beeping sound, Yeah. That is what you call the post. The power on what on save test. It checks if the internal computer hardware are working properly. Are they compatible? In case they're compatible now, the videos can be what? Can be loaded. Remember, these are some of the of the bus functions. In case now one is not working properly, we have what? The beeping sound. Yeah. And in case now some post problems, this is used to do what? To troubleshoot what? The problem. First, you can do what? You can remove any new hardware. Maybe you have installed a new RAM. You have installed what? A new RAM. Let me share the screen. Be able to see. I'm sharing the screen. Let me share the screen. Yeah, here. So I'm saying, in case you realize you have a problem with the post, So what you have to do now, you have to do what? You have to remove any new hardware. For example, maybe you have installed a new RAM. The new RAM now, because of the problems, you just remove the RAM. Remove the RAM, then you switch on the computer. In case you realize the procedure well, the problem could be the new hardware. Still, when you're starting up a computer, don't start up the computer when you're having the flash disk in, in the computer. So you remove any external device in the USB ports. They can be causing the problem. Still, you can disconnect external devices. You can do what? Disconnect what external devices. For example, connected the power cable to the computer together. For example, you are using an external VGA. Just disconnect the cables now and just connect them once more. You see whether still the problem is persisting. Then still you have stage. You can reconnect and check what the power cord, the power cords or the power cables. Yeah, because for example, in case the power cable is having an issue, there is no way. And now, listen here, for these power cables now, these are the cables in the motherboard. You have what? The power cables in the motherboard. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe it could have disconnected from where it's supposed to be. Remember, you have some sockets. If because it has disconnected, there is no way can do what the computer can work. Then still you can identify the beep sound. Yeah, because now we have different sounds that the computer can produce. We have a sound that is produced when the computer is having a RAM. Together, which is produced when there's a problem with the hard disk. For example, in case you realize you have some scratches, some scratches together. That is a sign of a hardware failure. And chances it is a hard disk. Because in a hard disk now we have the pretters. Together we have the pretters, which are able to rotate in and clockwise direction. And because you have to observe very, very well, or you have to listen very, very well to these sounds. Yeah. Still, you can check the fan. You can do what? You can check the fan. In case your fan is not working well, there is no way that computer can start up. That we must have what? The post-pro problem. So you have to check what? The fan. So we have discussed this one. You can check all the cables. Yeah. Verify all the cables are securely connected to the computer. No rules by pressing in each cable. So you have to open the computer, go to the motherboard, and ensure all the cables are firmly connected to the motherboard. Just plug them once more. Still, disk drive should have data cable and the power cable. Let me just show you. In the disk drive, you have two cables. One is for data and one is for what? For power. Maybe I can share the screen. Let me just show you. Let me just show you the cables. One is for data and one is for power. Let me show the screen. Let me show you. Yeah, these are the cables here. I got that. These are the cables that are used for the what? For the disk drive. You can see you're having two. One is used for Yeah, any question? Any question, John? Any question? Any question on that? Still, apart from checking whether all the cables are connected, you can disconnect all expansion cards together. Another one is you can disconnect what? All expansion cards together. You can disconnect all expansion cards. Let me share the screen. That is here. Yeah, you can disconnect or expansion cards together. So maybe using a video card, just disconnect it. Remember, we are solving the problems with the host together. The power on self of test together. You can disconnect it, and once now you have once the computer is powered up, you can do what? You can install it. For connecting to the servers. Yeah, it is used to the servers. Then still you can remove the RAM. Together you can do what? You can remove the RAM. The RAM still the RAM can cause what? A problem. And I had explained that. You can do what? Remove the RAM of the RAM. Yeah. I think now we are this we have I think now we are with that subsection. Yeah. But you don't have to go to you don't have to disconnect the CPU. So the major problem or the major issues or the major things you can do now, you have to remove the RAM. You have said disconnect all drives, disconnect or expansion cards, for example, in case you're using a video card, check all cables. For example, you can check what? The hard disk cables, the power cables, check the fan, all the fans, in case now the fan is operating. Does it have dust? Identify the bit code. And I've said the sort of produced by hard disk failure is different to a sound that is produced by a computer which is lacking what? RAM, check the power cables. We have discussed all that. Yeah. Any question? Yeah, I think that is enough. That is enough. So Kakongo, any question? Clarification? So how was the class today? How was the class today? Although we had some problems with the network, so we have diagnosed the problem because we have said in case now there's a problem in the network, or it is keep disconnecting. That is the what? A poor signal. Yeah. So how was the class today? Question or clarification? Kakongo, any question? Any question? In case of no question, yeah, that is what we are supposed to have covered today. Next time we'll be discussing. Next time, let me just. So you have to go through this. Next time we'll be discussing the post errors. Next time we'll be discussing what? The post error messages. So next time we'll start from here. The post error messages. Yeah, okay, I'll do that next time. I'll have demonstrated. I have to do what? Demonstrate. We call it for the do putting. Okay, but I'll do that. So I'll submit your assignment 1 today. So just confirm before the day ends. So there's a question, there's a discussion question. I will now just work on it.